Common Core Professional Development Plan. All right. Who's got this one?
Are you Claire?
I am. That's why when you shushed me, they said, "Who are you?" I said, "Claire Neifeld," and they said, "They're all like, sorry." I wasn't shushing you. I was shushing that one right there in the middle. I was not shushing you. Half an hour in here, they got me in trouble already.
Oh, you gotta be careful when
I
you
take
sit
back
in these
everything
meetings.
I was thinking on my way up here.
It's fine.
Well, Claire, why
Sorry.
don't you were there from the get-go on this, why don't you explain thinking on the plan and we'll let the board ask questions afterwards.
1 second, man, hang on. Question.
Just a quick question on this. I thought we hired Jenny to do the plan. Where's Jenny?
I don't know.
Was Jenny invited?
She obviously knew about the meeting.
Mark, was Jenny invited?
She was invited to come, sure.
This doesn't sound very believable.
As I wrote to you in an email that Claire and Jenny would decide who would be here. Can you speak to that, Claire?
I was gonna say, I talked to Jenny a couple times, and I know Sharon Rack talked to her also about the effectiveness of the PD that needs to be done here, and that's what teachers need right now, is that support.
I'm sorry, but that was not my question.
But-
My question was Jenny invited because we hired her to do this plan? This conversation should not happen without the person we hired to do the plan. I'm sorry. We asked Claren to chime into the plan. We did not hire, we as a board directed that Jenny Winters was going to write this plan for us. No offense, Claren.
No, that's okay. I think Jenny's understanding, this is my understanding of Jenny's understanding, so we're kind of, is that she was directed to write the plan, but not so much present the plan. And that after...
That's not the direction I gave Mark, but thank you for trying to clarify that.
Okay, but I think that's what Jenny understood.
So, what do we do? Because we hired someone to do the job and clearly they were either uninvited or not invited or decided not to show, which I would guess is not likely.
Should we push this off to the special meeting? But I hate to do that to these guys because these guys,
They need it.
they need it. I mean, you know? Although I will say this, there's so many pieces missing from this plan that it's, I can't even get it.
I'm just very frustrated because it was a very clear directive. It makes us look bad. It makes her waste her time for coming out here. That was not the directive. And I think it's putting her in an awful position that she has to be already entering here on the defensive.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Jenny Winters was the one that was hired by the board. And the fact that she's not here and we don't have a clear answer as to whether or not she was even invited is exactly why there's this trust on this board and it pisses me off. So we need to decide what we're going to do, but this is the kind of stuff that makes us mad, okay? This is ridiculous. It makes us look like idiots, and it makes a person who is a professional in the educational field have to come in here and look at this. So we got to decide and let's do it. This is ridiculous.
I'm so disappointed.
Jenny Winters knew about the meeting and
Mark,
the
was Jenny
communication
invited?
I copied was that they would decide on who would come and present the plan.
You know what, I'll call Jenny and we'll get to the bottom of this.
You want to take a break?
Well, can I just say there was an email that said, I'll let them decide. So then I responded to that email that went to Jenny, and I'm not even sure, I know Mark was on it.
I'm sorry,
And
Claire,
said-
I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but I just have to. It's ridiculous that we have to have this conversation. We said at the last meeting, we set the directive, Mark. This is not up to debate on who comes, who doesn't come. We gave a clear directive, and it's not the first time that you've entirely ignored it. I'm
I
sorry.
haven't ignored any directive. I copied everybody on the email that they would decide on who presented the plan. They worked on it together, and it was their prerogative on who would decide on the presentation of it. And that was clear to you,
I just have to
and it
ask
was
one
clear to
question.
everybody.
The plan that is in here, you have two plans in here, okay? Kim, from what I understand, had to ask for the professional development plan by Jenny Winters that the board directed to have in here. Yet there's a different professional development plan in here than what Jenny had proposed. So what's unclear about the directive? The directive was from Jenny Winters to do this, and yet we have a professional development plan that was originally in here that was not hers. I think we we need to take a recess, Doug, and get this resolved so that people don't have to listen to this. But this is the kind of stuff,
You have to resolve it in open session, I think.
well, then take a break.
Can we take a break? I wanna go
The
back.
plan, originally, there was a meeting that involved Peg Reardon, Claren, Jenny Winters, Matt, Melissa Halasek. They developed the plan, and this went to the Curriculum Council for feedback. There were minor changes in it, format changes. You can compare the two plans,
But that's
very
not,
little
that's
difference.
not the directive that was given. It was for Jenny Winters to present a plan. It was not to give it to the Curriculum Council, it was for Winters, who we're paying to develop the plan. I
She
think it
was
was
in-
pretty clear.
When was the meeting? Mark?
When they met,
Yeah.
it was the Friday of outdoor ed.
And how long did they meet for?
You have to ask them.
About half a day.
Yeah, we've been told about noon.
Were the teachers involved the entire time?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, well, they left about 10:30 or 11 probably.
For class.
For what?
No, that's not true. They left before class started for the day.
No, I left it
Yeah, they,
Nine?
Sorry.
So what time did the meeting start, Peg, do you remember?
8:20, 8:30.
So it was a half-day meeting, and these guys were only there a half hour? I mean, these are the guys we're trying to help. I mean, this is crazy. These guys, you guys are supposed to help
But
with
Gina, on
the
the other hand, we
plan.
can't keep saying we're overloading the teachers, and then we demand them to skip half a day of class in order to write the plan. That's why we hired 2 consultants to write the plan.
But I thought we
Well,
wanted
which
them
do we
involved.
want? What do you want? Tell me what you want. Do you want the teachers to write everything, or do you want to hire professionals to do it? You choose, now. Pick it.
I-
Well, we
I
did
thought
do
they
stuff.
we were gonna
no,
involve
no, you're
them.
not. You're
Because they're
playing
the
both
ones
sides
that
of this
are the ones that have to implement this. I thought we were gonna involve, they're not, they were, that was my
I'm going to read
assumption.
from the minutes. We originally hired Ms.
Yeah,
Winters
so
to
it's me.
facilitate the development of the professional development. Mark contributed that Ms. Einfeld and staff members would be involved. That was fine. That's what we approved.
And that's what happened.
Okay. Okay. So we hired Ms. Winters to develop a plan, and Ms. Winters isn't
Sorry
here.
to put you on the hot spot.
So, my suggestion is we reviewed Ms. Winters' plan.
Which one, the second
The
one?
second one. I thought it was the first one. Which one's the second one?
Turning on page 3.
Oh, that's the okay.
Ms. Einfeld, would you care to, since you were in that meeting, would you mind?
I'm
taking-
scared to death now. No, I'm just kidding.
Would you mind taking?
Honestly, the fact, and I am embarrassed that you left at 9 and I said 10:30 or whatever, but it's not unusual to not, not have teachers there the whole time, exactly for what you're saying. And where we are right now is teachers need PD more now than ever before. We are asking them to teach material they never learned, and we're asking them to teach it in a way that they were never taught. You can't make it harder for teachers right now. So I felt like I understood where they were. I mean, I've done this a lot and talked to thousands of teachers about what they need, which doesn't mean I don't need to get input from the particular district, but I kind of felt like we did and was kind of hoping that we would get started so that I could have more input from teachers as we go. I mean, to write a plan without having talked to the teachers very much is kind of hard, you know, because you get in there and you can have people thought a Likert scale of how well do you know Common Core. And somebody will give it a 7 that knows it better than somebody who'll give themselves a 2. So it's very hard to do that. And my discussion with Jenny was that she really doesn't have time to actually do the PD. That was what, she's got a full-time job and she doesn't have the time to do it. And also that it needs to be as effective as it can be. So her thing was, and that's why I can't even remember how it all went back and forth, that if we met that Friday, then she could be done, was the idea I got from her. So that's kind of what we did. We talked about it and had the teachers come in and kind of explain with them what they were going to do. I gave them some sample materials. They went on their way and we kind of mapped this out. But, I mean, I've written lots of them without teachers there.
no, can I add to that? The first plan, which is the second one here, when Claren and Jenny and I did it, it was the understanding that it was a draft.
Yes.
We weren't going to wordsmith everything there. You know, for example, we put events in, okay? And then there were topics and events, and we knew it was going to be confusing, and we knew it needed some clarification and simplification. So we knew that was a draft. I think Jenny was doing the typing and said she would get it back to us, maybe even that day, because it was already there. She typed it right in, and then we knew it was going to go to Curriculum Council and it would have a lot of eyes and thumbprints on it, and then be sent back to them and then to the board.
Okay.
So that's the first one on here is the finished product.
It's the finished product that went through the Curriculum Council, and I am going to say something, and I don't mean it to be hurtful, but I'm going to say it anyway. We hired Ms. Winters to develop the plan. We did not say we wanted it to go through the Curriculum Council and to have everyone's thumbprint on it. We wanted an expert to write the plan, because for 3 years, we've been working on this, and we've identified that we're not as far as we should be. So the Curriculum Council, who's led that charge with Mark, took us somewhere that maybe we're not as far as we should be. So now we have their thumbprint on something that might not be the right thumbprint, because maybe these same people who are wonderful people don't have the expertise enough to direct a professional development plan, because they are not trainers, they are not auditors, they don't work with the park test. This is new to them. So that is my concern, and that is why we hired an expert rather than saying, Curriculum Council, take another stab at it. So that's my concern.
And I don't see any, meaty changes from what the original one to this. What Curriculum Council talked about was what days are available, how are we going to do this, how many subs are needed, and what are we going to do on the 17th, and things. So I think if you compare the two, you're not going to see,
No, there are no substantial differences between the two. The final one is a little bit clearer in terms of format. We changed the numbering, so it's easier to follow. And I think it actually improved it. And I respectfully disagree with your comments that the plan wasn't improved by getting more teacher input, because people really do need to have some involvement in kind of the staff development that they're going to be receiving. So I think it actually got buy-in, and I think it was a good thing to do. Correct thing to do.
Okay. Ms. Steinfeld, can you go ahead and start? Can you go ahead and start presenting? Whichever one you want.
Yes, I mean, I think they're kind of the same. The idea is that first you have to get everybody on the same page, so that we're all speaking the same language, we all know what the goals are, we can all talk to parents the same way, and we all understand the same thing. So that was what we put as event 1. And the topics that are there, focus, coherence, and rigor, and the 8 mathematical practices. Do you want me to explain what those things are, or? Then the next thing that I want to do always is get administrators on board too. That's why I ask for some administrator time as an event, because they're the ones that are in the building every day, and they're the ones that are going to be observing the teachers who are going to be doing the things that we're going to be talking about these. And in light of the fact that the teachers here have been working kind of on their own without someone who has the expertise in mathematics and the Common Core, is that we thought the next thing would be to have grade level meetings, so that I've got a whole day with the 4 first grade teachers, and we can go through the actual standards, because some of the importance in those standards are the verbs that are used. And they're very different than what we've had for ISET. I wrote the Illinois Assessment Framework for the ISET test. And I wouldn't let anybody use a word like understand, because I don't know how to assess understanding on large scale. Well, now with the computers and the technology, we are trying to go for understanding. So teachers need to understand that understand is a very different verb, and to teach for understanding is a very different thing than to teach for someone to be able to add 2 digits.